Alright, it's story time. It's downpouring. We're just gonna call the person in the story fuckboy. I think a lot of people have a fuckboy. Girls, boys, whatever. They, them, she, he. Okay. Around this time last year, I made a huge mistake. And I will admit what I've done wrong because I pride myself on my integrity and genuine character. I'm not making excuses for the damage that I caused, but I am offering an explanation. Fuckboy and I were in a sexual relationship on and off for many years. We attended the same high school and had mutual acquaintances. The father of my son has a troubled history with Fuckboy. Fuckboy has accused my son's father of stealing marijuana from him. And as a result, Fuckboy has a strong dislike for my kid's father. So, and obviously me being in a sexual relationship with Fuckboy did not rub my child's father the right way, being it that we ran in a, kind of have the same acquaintances, whatever. So, but I now believe that me being with Fuckboy being with me was purely a means to seek revenge for what my child's father had allegedly done to him. Okay, what I interpreted as a friend with benefits was actually just a sexual relationship. Every time I would attempt to cut ties, he would resurface and I would meet up with him in hopes that maybe it would turn into something more. He would block and unblock me and vice versa, and this went on for years. It was quite evident that he was only interested in using my body. I felt that I had been genuine and confided in him, but I made up excuses for why he just wanted me for sex. I thought maybe he was just closed off and lacked the ability to truly commit, closed off emotionally. But women always think like we can change something, or something, or I don't know. I know now that I was just trying to self-soothe to ease the ache of rejection by making up these excuses. I told him that I liked him. He said he liked me too. I didn't understand what was wrong with me. What is it about me that he didn't like, but liked? And I was confused. It was always difficult for us to meet up because I was busy working full-time as a geriatric LPN and raising my son. I desperately wanted to find love and have stability in that way for my child. And it was always difficult. The sexual relationship I had with Fuckboy was unlike any other to me. I felt a connection like I couldn't explain, but yet there was no substance. Fuckboy would say that it was because of my child that he couldn't be with me. It was because he had been married before and that he didn't want a relationship. Throughout the years, I was in a few different long-term relationships that didn't work out. In between, I would meet up with Fuckboy, and then the feelings would start again. I would just tell myself like I was being ridiculous and try to convince myself that I had the ability to continue this on without commitment. And as time went on, it seemed that our interactions became more straight to the point. The one-way conversations stopped and it was straight to business, and then out the door was, and to be contacted at his leisure. He even grew bold enough to film our sexual interaction behind my back, to then tell me later and send me proof via email. I was shocked and upset. But I thought it was my fault because I had sent multiple nude photographs to him in the past. I know now that I did not know he was recording me and that it was wrong for him to do that. Fuckboy lied and said that I was in agreement with this video. But that is not true. Because I have never recorded myself during sex and I've never wanted to. Maybe I've thought about it. But crossing that line to me was just too much. And everybody's different. I just thought, like, why am I doing this to myself? He's never going to want you. So why are you entertaining him? And it seemed like every relationship I would get in, like, fuckboy would pop up. And it was like, just like a chapter that I could never seem to fully close. Amidst the on and off interactions with fuckboy, I was raising my son, working as a full-time nurse. I had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety and was in search of further information and or a descriptive diagnosis to accurately depict the internal feelings of a harsh inner critic, feelings of rejection, difficulties forming and maintaining relationships, all the while wondering why it was that I had been feeling this way. I self-medicated with alcohol to assist with these feelings. I thought that because I was a nurse and I went to work and my son had everything he needed, that I had everything under control, and then some. But I was wrong, and I was just trying to feel normal in a world that was overstimulating and unforgiving. After care from my psychiatrist and a neuropsych eval, I was diagnosed with ADHD, with OCD tendencies. ADHD is not only an attention deficit, it is an emotional dysregulation disorder. It is representative of highly sensitive individuals who overthink, overshare, and are more sensitive to rejection. The diagnosis clarified a lot, but also left some unanswered questions that I am currently in pursuit of answering. I have strong reason to believe that I am autistic due to many factors that align with my way of being. And the diagnostic criteria has minimal information regarding autistic females. There are an entire lost generation of women who spent their entire lives questioning themselves, and I am one of them. I've spent a lot of my life feeling alien and struggling to fit in socially, struggling to maintain and keep relationships, and I've settled for bare minimum with a lack of boundaries, leaving me exposed and attached to individuals who prove to be toxic to my well-being. A need to be loved and accepted, silently screaming on the inside, yet attempting to appear so-called normal. I didn't want to be viewed as broken. Last year, after attempting to leave a toxic relationship, I spent some time with fuckboy around January. I was surprised that he asked me to meet up at his friend's house, and it felt like maybe he wanted to actually hang out. I thought then and asked why we weren't meeting at his house. And then I asked him, "Oh, do you have a girlfriend at home?" He responded, "No, I have a roommate." Hanging out with him and his friend felt weird. I knew I was wasting my time with him, and I knew that I deserved better. At this time, I had started on medication and was not drinking. I knew a lot of our interactions had been fueled with alcohol, so I wanted to see and I wanted to represent myself as sober, because I thought, how could anyone respect someone who's a drunk? And no wonder why he doesn't like me. Okay, this is part one, because this is 10 minutes. I can't think how long this is. Alright, this is take 2 of this, because I didn't record. I read it all, and then it was like, F you, we didn't save anything, we don't care. Okay. So, after a short visit, and feelings of being misplaced and uncomfortable, I told Fuckboy that I had to leave. He walked me down the stairs and tried to have sex with me in the hallway of his friend's apartment. It struck me once again how much of an object I was to him, and once again I questioned what I was doing there with him. I refused to have sex with him, and I left. I knew I needed to end this toxic connection, and I craved closure so that I could move on. Still sorting through emotions concerning a long-term relationship, a breakup from a long-term relationship, and then trying to stay sober, while, dealing with the emotions of the grief that I was still dealing with, that I was trying to numb. And, if you numb it, you don't deal with it. And then when you get sober, it surfaces and it feels a lot more intense, and you can't just go reach for something to fix it. So it just makes things really real. So I desperately wanted to have an adult conversation, and respectfully part ways. The night I had contacted Fuckboy, he had agreed to meet up with me after he was finishing doing whatever he was doing, and then boom, I was blocked. And then he was out of reach, and then I was that night I decided to drink. I made the choice to drink that night after being sober. It was difficult for me. Everything felt so overwhelming, and I didn't want to feel it. So I called. He blocked me. I called. I thought we were gonna meet up, and then I was blocked. And I said, this has to end. And so I went to the house. I knocked on his door. He lives upstairs. His dad and his stepmom live downstairs. His dad has multiple dogs, and whenever I've gone there in the past, the dogs always bark if they're outside and you're going up the stairs, because you have to walk by the yard that the dogs are in to go up the stairs. And when I got there, the dogs were not outside, and it was dark. After knocking on the door and then him not answering my calls and me being obviously intoxicated, I decided that I was going to take some flower pots and throw them off the deck, which was completely stupid and immature, and no excuse for it. No excuse, and I deserve to have to deal with the consequences of that. So in the midst of me doing this, throwing the flower pots, according to the plaintiffs, Fuckboy's dad and stepmom, they said that I threw a chair as well, and I can't in good faith say that I didn't. In the midst, like I said, of all this, a man came to the door. I assume that it was his roommate, and he was in shock, and I ran down the stairs and left. Fuckboy called me. He said, "You're lucky. My parents aren't going to call the cops. You nearly hit one of the dogs." So at that point, I was so full of emotion, anger, sad, just all kinds of emotions were going on.
but the last thing I wanted to do was hurt anyone. So I felt horrible, and I drove back to the house and knocked on the door, spoke to his stepmom, apologized. She told me to leave, said he is going to be here, he's on his way. And I thought that she was talking about fuckboy. So I left. I got into my car, which was parked across the street. And before I could leave, fuckboy's dad came storming at me, and he's like 6'4", 200 and at least 250 pounds, like, or 280. Like, he's a very large man. He ripped me out of my car. He ripped me out of the vehicle. He choked me. He slammed my head against the ground and told me he could kill me. I've never felt so powerless in my entire life. I'm a tall girl, so I don't often feel small or powerless, but this experience proved to me that if someone bigger and stronger wanted to hurt me, that I would essentially be powerless. I was in fear of my life and started to make amends with Jesus, asking for forgiveness for my foolish actions. All the while, Fuckboy's father mocked and laughed and choked me, bursting the blood vessels in my face, giving me a bloody nose, multiple bruises and scrapes. My head was in pain for days after. While he was beating me, his wife said, "Okay, blank," as to calm him and cease the beating. When he was done beating me, he proceeded to call the police and ask his wife to get on top of me to restrain me. When I realized it was her on top of me, I thought, like, I have a chance now to get away. I want to protect myself. And so instinct kicked in, and like I said, tried to get away. Like, it ends up with me pulling her hair to, like, try and get her off of me. She was on top of me. And she's not small. She's like a big, like, kind of heavy set. She's not kind of heavy set. She is very heavy set. Like obese, morbidly obese. Okay, now, okay, all right. And so in the midst of this, then the police came, and my nose was dripping with blood. I was covered in scrapes and bruises. I told the police multiple times that they both beat me up, but they didn't listen because I was in an altered state of mind. It was difficult for me to, like, convey what had happened. I was just, like, in so much shock. I had just gotten beaten up too. So, uh, and the two of them were speaking to the police as if, they were buddies, laughing occasionally. It was almost as if they knew each other or something. I was taken to the jail, released on personal recognizance, and that night. And I walked to police headquarters to tell the police that they got it wrong, that I was the one that had been assaulted. And the officer's response was that the first or the third time you trespassed. And at that point, I knew that what was done, and that I was going to have to proceed with what was and fight to prove my innocence. But I never hurt anyone. I deserve to, whatever consequences come from, the destruction of property. But I never attacked anyone. I never hurt anyone. And if I did hurt this woman, it was in an attempt to get away from her because she was on top of me after her husband beat me up and told me he could kill me. So I stand by that until my last breath. The story's never going to change. that is the story. Praying. I'm just praying. This is definitely the hardest shit that I've ever, well, one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with, and I just feel like it's like such a turning point in my life, an accumulation of like just so much, like this realization, like this just whole, you know, coming into my own. I think my frontal lobe is developed now. I think. But yeah.